course, we need to start with last night's game, the Spurs game in the Champions League under the Thomas Frank era for Spurs, a 1-0 victory against Villarreal. First thoughts, you thought it was boring?
I don't know if it's, but it's a great result. From a result perspective, at home, you get the job done, but I thought it was a slightly subdued game last night. I just thought the energy, even the crowd, Villarreal, even the way they played, they sort of come, they set themselves in. I was counting how many times Romero just literally put his foot on the ball and just walked out of defence, which is setting a tempo for the game, which then led to, in football matches, you want to be at you want to be actually in a high intense game. You're a better player for it. When it's slow, certain players are better, majority of players are better at that pace. So you see, like Jed Spence, I thought he had a sort of bad game last night. And
he wasn't as switched on as he
normally
is.
Because I think the tempo of the game, and that's what it switches you off. So you see loose balls, people giving the ball away.
It was sloppy
the intensity, it was very sloppy.
Just to give some context to that, because I went to the game last night. I was actually running late because I've been in IB for...
there he is. Drop.
But, of course, it was the early goal from Lucas Bergvall. Screamer coming in.
What a goal of the season considered.
It was a screamer.
So the early goal happened as well. Yeah. Villarreal travelled with almost, it looked like about 200 fans.
That's for nothing.
I think it was 200, exactly.
So I think the mixture of the early sloppy goal... Hardly any fans in there.
Yeah, I think there was a nervousness in general because, again, return to the Champions League is a step up for us as a club after even winning the Europa League. But it seemed to me that at the moment, and I think there's loads of positive to take from Frank's early start, but it was like we were slowing it down when we didn't need to and then rushing it in other areas, like when Kudos should have squared it to certain players. It's just at the moment you can see Frank's worked out. I think he's fixed that defence. I mean, the fact that we got another clean sheet. I mean, have we now overtaken last year's clean sheet total? I think so. And now when we look at it, it's the attack now. And this Spurs attack can score goals. Even the players we brought in can score goals. It's just that sort of creative issue. We're bringing in Xavi Simons. Hopefully he will resolve that because I think he looks bright. Kudos looks good as well. I think there's just like fine little bits, and Frank's mentioned it already in his post-match. So I'm not too worried. I feel like, you just want to go into these games sometimes, win your home games, as you said, off-camera match, 1-0 win, clean sheet, and happy days, really.
I don't think it's a criticism. It's not. I think they got the job done, but it wasn't the electric sort of Champions League evening. No. I think it was, but it was a great result defensively. Mate, they're so solid now, and you listen to the boy after talking about how he's got them defensively shaped as a team, and I think going forward with Kudos and Simons, I think within the first 20 minutes they were electric. They were looking really creative, and they've got the freedom to sort of play. I think there's loads of positives out of the game. I just think from a watching point of view, it wasn't the greatest game, but they got the job done, got the 3 points, happy days.
What's that like for a player? As the players gone in there, they would have felt the energy out there. You'd feel it from the crowd. Yeah. You'd all look around, job done, boys. Another one, we go on to Brighton at the weekend. Yeah. Is that what the players would have probably taken from last night?
I think you get the energy of the win, because you know that you're under pressure. You don't win that game. I think with the pressure that they're under, I think from a fan's perspective, when you're watching, you want to see a great game, don't you? Like sort of energy, so sort of coming away, great result, and that sort of sets the tempo. Like you said, they are under pressure. Some sort of Champions League debuts last night, not only for the manager but a few players and
young players as well.
Young players. I mean, I think Bergvall, what a player he is. Good-looking boy, and all that. He's a good-looking boy.
He got player of the match.
Yeah.
This is a young man who, for me, was class again. One thing I love about him was that sort of turn on the pivot. He's so quick to just move the ball.
Does not stop running, does he?
He's so positive.
It was his debut. I think we forget because he's like part of the furniture now. He's 19, making his debut in the Champions League, and he's just made. It's his stage now, isn't he? He's a player like that. I put it into perspective. If he was playing for Arsenal, I think more people would be talking about him. Yeah, I feel like there's a level of he's still quite underrated. I'm
glad about that. No one watch him. He's ours.
Yeah, we don't want to.
If he's gone, he's not going to get him.
Exactly.
Keep him.
We're not a selling club anymore.
But he's a great player. So positive on the ball, and if you've got a player like that in your team, making them forward runs and just exposing, he's like that Bellingham type, sort of running forward, that's strong with the ball. And his head never goes down. He makes mistakes, and he seems like a player that he can brush off mistakes easily. And to have a player like that in his team, it certainly sets that tempo that you sort of talk about.
100%.
He's sort of productive going forward, and he's an exciting player. I love watching him play.
One thing I will say is, in the ground, it felt like at no point was we really under the cosh, so to speak,
No.
right?
No.
And in like the load of Spurs groups I'm in afterwards was like, oh, got away with that one. And I didn't feel that being in the stadium. And obviously maybe watching it at home, and like, there was a lot of... Second half, Villarreal definitely grew into the game. I think they probably had a better second half than we had. And we definitely controlled the first half. But I just feel like now when I watch... And maybe it's because he's the captain now, David. I think Romero now, I can... Before, there could be a heads gone moment, he might do something rash. He just has... I felt like giving them that captain's armband, can that happen to a player when they given a responsibility that they feel that they should have? They grow into the role.
100%. I think he's that type of man, isn't he? He's that type of player. He's won the World Cup. He's done X, Y, Z in the game. I think some of his rash challenges were probably through frustration, like, you know, playing under that system. It was Van der Ven come out last night. I don't know if you see his interview after the game, and he was literally saying, we're more organised now. We know what we're doing defensively as a unit now, you know, but we didn't before. He was sort of leaving a bit on him, if you sort of read between it. I think Romero...
That's not the first player to say that as well. I think Brendan Johnson said something very similar a couple of weeks ago about our manager loves defending or something.
Like you can read it, like being a player, I'm going, he's leaving a bit on him there. Yeah. So Romero being that top player with that responsibility, knows how to win. If you give him that responsibility, he just run through brick walls for you. And you can see that from the game, you know, he's commanding... and organising the back four. But like going back to the chances that Villarreal created last night, I think Pepe had a few, didn't he? Yeah. They were sort of half chances, but they were still...
Macario wasn't tested at all, was he?
I think he's looked stronger. I think he looks a bit more
definitely
commanding.
Better coming for crosses.
I
think, and I think that's something that he needed to work on. What do you think Thomas Frank can learn from last night?
I think you can't listening to him talk after. He sort of said, as a defensive unit, they sort of did well last night, sort of how they worked and their sort of honesty. But I think he was just getting the game, obviously his first Champions League game, under pressure at home. I think he was just happy with the 3 points. I think Simmons and Kudos, they done really well. They were attacking, like I thought, especially in the first sort of 20-25 minutes, they were positive. I don't know how many lessons they take out of that game last night. I think it was just a case of getting the job done and walking away with the 3 points.
I think, Sonny, that, like we said before, the early goal, you're not anticipating a goal so early in the Champions League time.
And in that fashion.
You know, it just led to the whole game us just bantering their keeper every time we come from the ball.
Wasn't it?
It was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to make one of those blooper videos that Danny Dyer used to do back in the day, like 100 worst mistakes. But I just think we've got to remember as well, this is Thomas Frank's first game at this level in general. He's not used to maybe, I think he even said in his pre-match that he has 2 days to prepare for this one after the West Ham game of the weekend. So he's been used to, like, every week with Brentford waiting for the Man City, then Chelsea, then Villa, stuff like that. Now he's going, wait, now I've got to pivot midweek, Saturday, Sunday sort of thing. But I feel like he will take, you know, these results, even the Bournemouth result, we might see that as a positive because even though we lost, we didn't create anything and we were really, really poor. I think Frank will take more from that and go, right, this is what I need to do now. He's even said, like, we need to focus on the attack now. We need to focus on our creative play because there was a 20-minute spell in that second half where our passing was poor. We couldn't keep hold of the ball, but we kept winning it back in defensive areas. And I think that's what we have to remember. Last season, our defence was so poor, but our attack was good. It's now we've flipped on its head. Our defence is really good and we now got to try and see how we unlock that attack. But we are missing, you know, about 60-odd goals from Kulusevski, Maddison through injury, and then Son's left as well. So there's a few issues to solve, but I think Frank's got the know-how and the staff behind him to really get there.
Yeah, I think that relationships moving forward I think it's easier to be defensive, to develop relationships quicker because you can be organised, you can work within your short shape and structure. As you're a creative player, to sort of understand people's runs. So when you receive the ball, you see 4 separate options on, but sometimes that becomes sort of second nature through relationships that you understand certain runs.
That's a great point you make because we saw yesterday with Jed Spence and Xavi Simmons, there was at times them not reading the overlap together and they hesitated. Yeah. Like you said, when those relationships build, it becomes second nature and all of a sudden, and that's why we see Kane and Son become the best duo in Premier League history.
It takes years. It's not an overnight. I mean, I'm not a pro footballer or a former pro footballer like yourself. It takes years to develop these things, doesn't it?
It does. Them relationship elements, like all the way through history in football, when you build, they become second nature. You think like they got to happen so quick, and then them developments moving forward, and them sort of movements they work on to create more goals, that will come. But the ability that's in the Tottenham forward line now
scary.
Is it's up there with the best in Europe. Not let alone.
Wow, yeah.
It's up there.
Even seeing Mwani come on, there's just that little sort of 7-8 minute cameo.
He's got a bit about him.
Strong.
30-second yellow card as well.
He shouldn't have got booked for that. I was fuming. I was, no, he butted him, didn't he?
Yeah.
By accident, wasn't it?
And then even the fact he looks even bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
Like on the pitch against like the defenders and that. I'm excited to see him come into that fold. But as you say, you know, that forward line, when they start reading one another and can intercept where they're going to be, I think it's going to be exciting. But just to summarise, your first game, Thomas Frank's first game in the Champions League, it's a step up for him as well as a manager. You know, there's been questions over the last 5 years. He's been touted as a manager that could go to one of the bigger clubs. He's there now, first time in the Champions League, competitive game. He's got his win. He's going to be happy.
Yeah, he's happy. To him, everyone I've spoke to is how articulate he is, how sort of on the ball he is with, and is it meticulous is the word, I think, through his preparation and his training methods and the way he is around the building. You can see that when he talks so well. And I think it's a real positive sort of moving forward. When you look at the Tottenham squad, you look at what's gone on upstairs, and you see the management and the training team. I'm excited. I think all these goals, you've got that defensive structure, which every team needs, doesn't it? You look at Man City, Liverpool, who won the leagues. You look, they've got that strong base.
And those two centre-backs are at that perfect age. Like, you know, they are matured. Well, he's still so young, but Christian Romero as a captain.
There ain't much getting past him.
Really exciting stuff.